Eternal Sunshine, I do it too.
Nobody, Nothing, Nowhere.
That was the title.
That's the working title.
That's the working title. Rachel and Alex. So this will be a fun interview because it's two creative minds. So feel free to overlap and set me straight. So I'm curious about the writing process, but I'm also curious about how your history with your rapport with cinema, but also where you are, like your artist's mind. Like I'm curious about that amalgamation of things. So perhaps just give me some insight into where you're coming from, and then that creative cohesiveness that you've developed for this thing.
You want to talk?
Yes. We were casually friends for like maybe the last 5-6 years, and I was like producing indie films. I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. I was like directing comedy shorts. And Alex's background is a lot of music videos, sketches, comedy shorts, did a couple of web series, and where we came to overlap is with this dance troupe called Cocoon Central Dance Team. They did this comedy dance troupe, and we both wanted to make their movie so bad. So we teamed up, we wrote the screenplay together, we directed the movie together, and that became Snowy Bing Bongs Across the North Star Combat Zone.
We adapted their live show.
Okay.
Yeah. And so since then, we've been collaborating as a writer-director team. And the stuff we do, we each do stuff separately, and the stuff we do together is like where our Venn diagrams overlap. So it's absurdist. It's
like comedy and like big
comedy.
Big stuff,
Conceptual.
lots of colors.
Well, okay. So take us through like a given creative spurt. Like do you both go in separate directions and then you sort of like meet halfway? Like what's that journey like for the previous projects?
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of talking. We pretty much work when we're in the same room.
We're usually coming up, so with Bing Bongs, there's a live show at the Black Box Theater, but there was so much going on, so it was us just sort of like translating what they were doing visually, but they didn't have anything visual.
Okay.
So that was just a lot of us riffing on like, oh, that was sort of like, let's give some examples from Bing Bongs of stuff we did. Like that was sort of like Bye Bye Birdie or something.
Yeah.
With Face Dance.
But this new movie that we're writing from scratch, we knew we wanted to do more work together, and we just kind of like got together and hung out every day and tossed around ideas until we figured out something we like. And then the way we write it is we sit next to each other and we both write it. We
spent a lot of time together, like we were spending a lot of time together finishing the last project, and so we would procrastinate by coming up with new things to work on.
Of course.
It's much easier.
Yes.
And one of the ideas, we had a couple that we were still like playing around with, but the idea that we did at the labs was I had this idea for a literal solipsistic universe where just one guy exists and the movie's about the other people who don't exist. And like, what does that mean? And then I was like, Rachel, what do you think of this idea?
I was like, that's my whole life. Like, I'm not a real person. The world is like built for people who are not like me, and I just like have to like fight to be alive. So that turned into
like what the thrust of the movie was.
I was wondering if you could describe the look, the texture, the feel, the tapestry, the tone of this specific project.
We've got two.
Yeah, so there's only one guy in the world and everybody else is a non-person, and when they're not on shift populating his life, they go through these trapdoors into this non-world. So when you're hanging out with Dave, the one guy, it's like hyper-realistic.
It's like an Altman movie or something.
Altman looking, like
shot
gorilla, messy.
Every character in his world is as real as everybody in your world.
Yeah.
And then when you go through the trapdoor into the no world, it's kind of the opposite of that. It's colorful, the gravity doesn't work.
Endless perspective and like crazy colors. And
it feels like maybe like an old movie musical, but without the songs.
Kind of like Singing in the Rain, that one part where she dances with the long scarf.
Yeah.
It'll feel a lot like that.
Okay.
And there's no direction.
Do you have any specific influences, like aesthetic influences that are like other entities that exist out there, not only in film, but like, is there things that you're referencing perhaps?
Yeah, we're still kind of gathering our visual materials.
Okay.
But Altman definitely.
That lookbook's going to be really busy.
Yeah. 50s and 60s movie musicals.
Okay.
Hollywood musicals.
2 pages at least.
Technicolor. Right.
And like we talk about Mary Poppins a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the non-world stuff.
You come out of the labs and the labs will confirm something about your project.
Yeah.
Perhaps the direction of the narrative, the timeline, the characters. Maybe you can both answer this question, is like, what did it confirm for you? What are you doing right or wrong? And
it was an affirming process a lot of the ways.
Mm-hmm.
And
the fact that they read our movie and their geniuses was very affirming.
it was cool. It's like talking to like kind of our heroes of screenwriting.
Yeah.
And them like getting involved in our characters.
Yeah.
It was a delight, an affirming delight.
It seemed like the philosophy of the movie that we think a lot about, but wasn't necessarily on the page. Is what we've discovered. But that philosophy in the movie and all the little sort of dual meanings and metaphors that we had, the whole thing's kind of a fable.
Yeah.
So all of that stuff was just like, we got good feedback on that. It was like, this is good, go in that direction, do it more, have everything be meaningful. Mm-hmm. That's basically the premise, was like, you're going to write this movie, go 100%.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks.
That's
Yeah,
it.
thanks for having me.
Awesome.